Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I never imagined that a simple Saturday night would unravel everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, and myself. I had been married to Emily for almost 10 years, and for the most part, we had a life that looked enviable from the outside. Friends called us the perfect couple, attentive, charming, grounded. But behind closed doors, cracks had begun to show, subtle at first, almost ignorable. Late nights at work, short answers, disappearing phone calls. I chalked most of it up to stress. Until that party. It started innocently enough. Our neighbors, the Parkers, were hosting a lavish gathering at their country estate. Champagne flowing, laughter bouncing off the high ceilings, the faint scent of roses and grilled food mingling in the air. Emily and I arrived together, or so I thought. She looked radiant, as always, in that navy dress that hugged her just right. I adjusted my tie, trying to muster the usual charm. Inside, the place was buzzing with music and conversations, familiar faces, clinking glasses. But as soon as we stepped in, I noticed a subtle shift in Emily. Her smile was sharper, almost forced, and her eyes kept flicking toward the back patio. I tried to engage her in conversation, asking about her week, her work, her laughter. She answered, but not fully, as if her mind was somewhere else entirely. And then I saw him. At first, I thought it was a mistake, my imagination running wild. But no, there he was, a tall man in a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, leaning casually against the railing, a drink in his hand, talking to Emily with that easy familiarity I hadn't seen in years. He smiled and she laughed, a sound I hadn't heard directed at me in months. Something inside me twisted. I didn't feel anger at first. I felt disbelief, then a creeping, cold dread. I approached, pretending to be casual, my heart hammering in my chest. Emily noticed me finally and offered a small, distracted smile. "Hey, love, this is Mark," she said, gesturing toward him. My throat went dry. "Hi." I managed, my voice hoarse, barely above a whisper. Mark nodded politely, unaware of the storm brewing behind my calm exterior. I spent the next hour pretending everything was fine, sipping my drink, forcing conversation with neighbors, but my eyes kept darting to them. Every laugh, every touch of his arm on her shoulder, every small gesture she returned. It was poison. I could feel the life draining out of me slowly, like a candle burning from the base up, leaving nothing but a fragile skeleton of myself. Eventually, I stepped outside, telling Emily I needed some air. The cool night hit my face, crisp and unforgiving. I wandered the garden, listening to the faint music, trying to gather myself. How had I missed all the signs? The late nights, the excuses, the subtle withdrawal. I had trusted her, loved her blindly, and now I was witnessing what my mind had refused to imagine. When I returned, I confronted her quietly, in the corner of the veranda, away from everyone. "Emily," I said, voice low but firm, "what's going on with you and him?" Her eyes widened, caught in a mixture of panic and guilt, and she looked away, fumbling for words. "It's not what you think," she started, but I could hear the hesitation. I knew better. She tried to laugh it off, saying it was innocent, that he was just a colleague, that I was overreacting. But the truth was as clear as the moonlight spilling over the garden. The warmth I had thought we shared had been quietly replaced, and I had walked blindly into it. Every instinct in me screamed to retreat, to leave, but my pride held me there, silently recording every detail, every betrayal. I left the party early, claiming a headache. Emily tried to follow, but I waved her off, needing the solitude. In my car, I sat for nearly an hour, gripping the steering wheel, my mind racing, replaying every laugh, every gesture, every moment that had seemed insignificant over the past months but now screamed the truth. She had chosen someone else, and I had been blind to it. Or perhaps I had refused to see. By the time I reached home, I was numb. I didn't slam the door, didn't yell, didn't cry. I simply walked in, set my keys down, and stared at the space we shared. It felt alien now, foreign, tainted. I walked through the rooms as if I were seeing them for the first time, noting the little things I had once taken for granted. Her coffee mug on the counter, the photo of us on our honeymoon, the way the light hit the walls. Everything seemed unchanged, yet everything was broken. I couldn't sleep that night. Every sound from the street, every creak of the floorboards made my heart jump. I replayed the scene over and over, analyzing, questioning, and silently promising myself something. Not revenge, not yet. First clarity, first understanding, and then, maybe, the power to decide what comes next. The night stretched endlessly, the weight of realization pressing down on me. By morning, I knew one thing. Nothing would ever be the same, and whatever decisions were made, whatever confrontations awaited, I would no longer be the passive man I had been for too long. Something inside me had shifted. It was quiet, almost imperceptible, but it was there. A calm, chilling certainty. Her world had been shaken, but by evening, by the reckoning I was only beginning to prepare, it would collapse entirely. By sunrise, I had made a decision. The betrayal at the party wasn't just a fleeting moment. It was a reflection of everything that had been quietly corroding our marriage. I didn't act in anger or yell. I acted with precision, with a calm I had never felt before. Emily was still asleep when I went about quietly gathering the essentials, wallet, keys, a change of clothes. Not to flee, not to beg, but to create space, to establish control over a life that had suddenly been taken hostage by her choices. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Simple, devoid of blame. I need to think. I'll be back when I'm ready to talk. It wasn't dramatic. There was no shouting. There was nothing theatrical, just a boundary. For years, I had been patient, loyal, accommodating, and quiet. For the first time, I acted for myself. Driving through the city streets, the morning fog curling around the streetlights, I felt clarity settle over me. The betrayal had been cruel, but it had also been illuminating. Every kiss I thought I had earned, every shared laugh I believed was genuine, suddenly felt like a lie I had chosen to believe. I realized that love isn't just about proximity, presence, or routine. It's about choice. And Emily had chosen someone else. By late morning, I called my closest friend, James. I didn't need advice. I needed an anchor, someone to witness the truth. I caught her, James, I said, voice steady. With him. At the party. I paused. By morning, her world is going to fall apart. James listened, silent at first. You're talking about leaving her? He finally asked. I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. Not yet. I'm talking about giving her a mirror, a chance to see what she's done. By noon, I returned home. Emily was awake, sitting at the kitchen island, scrolling through her phone, pretending everything was normal. I didn't speak immediately. I let the silence stretch, letting the tension coil between us like a living thing. Finally, I said, we need to talk. Now. She looked up, startled, a flush of panic crossing her face. About what? She asked, her voice a fragile mass of composure. I know about him, I said simply. I saw everything. And I know you thought you could hide it from me, or maybe that I wouldn't see the signs. But I did. Every lie, every whisper, every laugh that wasn't for me, I saw it. Emily's eyes widened, her lips trembling. She tried to speak, to justify, to apologize, but I cut her off. No, not yet. I want you to understand what this means. I want you to feel the weight of what you've done, because this isn't just about a party. It's about years. Years of trust, of loyalty, of everything I thought we had, and you've thrown away. For a moment, she sat frozen. Then came tears, the shaky, panic kind that betrayed guilt more than sorrow. Lucas, I didn't mean... I held up my hand. No explanations. No excuses. Not now. You made your choice. And now you're going to face the consequences. Over the next few hours, I began to undo the safety nets that had insulated her from reality. Credit cards? Canceled. Access to our shared accounts? Revoked. Every convenience I had silently provided. Every indulgence stripped away. She looked at me, confusion and fear mingling on her face. What are you doing? She whispered, almost a plea. Giving you the reality you've been avoiding, I said. The world doesn't bend for betrayal. I've given you chances, years of chances, and this is the first time I'm not. The day unfolded with a quiet intensity. Friends called, neighbors stopped by, and Emily realized quickly that the truth of the night had spilled into every corner of her carefully curated life. By afternoon, her social circle had subtly shifted, the whispers of the party reaching ears I didn't expect. I didn't spread stories. I didn't need to. The ripple effect of her actions had begun naturally, organically, and it was suffocating. When evening fell, Emily's demeanor had changed completely. She was no longer laughing, no longer brushing off reality. The man from the party? I hadn't confronted him directly, but his calls and messages were ignored, her attempts to maintain the illusion of control collapsing under the weight of her choices. By dinner, she sat alone, staring at the remnants of what she had thought she could keep. I watched from the doorway, silent, calm. I wasn't gloating, not really. I was observing the natural consequences of actions that had been concealed for too long. By nightfall, she called me into the living room. Her voice was small, timid. "Lucas, I don't know what to say." I shook my head. "There's nothing to say. You've had every opportunity to choose honesty, loyalty, trust. You didn't, and now you face the aftermath. Your world as you knew it is gone, and that is the choice you made." She sat, trembling, realizing fully for the first time the depth of the void she had created. The betrayal had seemed thrilling, secretive, exciting. But by the time the night ended, by the morning after, the reality was stark, undeniable, and merciless. Everything she had relied on, my patience, my silence, my loyalty, was gone. And I had reclaimed the one thing she could not touch, my dignity, my clarity, and my power over my own life. By the time I walked to the bedroom, the quiet of our home felt different. It was no longer suffocating. It was liberating. Emily sat on the sofa, defeated, staring at the floor, finally understanding that every laugh she had stolen, every choice she had made outside the bond of our marriage, had consequences she could no longer escape. And in that moment, I realized something profound. Sometimes betrayal is the only mirror that shows people the truth about themselves. By morning, her world had collapsed, not by my hand, but by the choices she had made and the reckoning she had long delayed.